Welcome everybody to another episode of the Niner Family Huddle podcast. Today we're talking Lions, and we'll do that after this. Did that sound okay for you guys? It sounded weird in my headphones.
Little off, yeah. It's like it was a little distorted at parts, but
Probably my fault.
We're still getting the audio dialed in, but that's okay.
So
All right.
we got the debut of Ryan's Red Light. We got the debut of Chasen's stocking cap. I like that hat too. So both good looking additions.
Is that a new beanie?
It's not new. I've had it probably since high school.
Oh well.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'd be wearing it in one of the pictures that actually just flashed. I think I was wearing one of them.
Yeah. Shout out to the wife Sam for the light. That was a Christmas gift.
Good purchase, Sam.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looks great. I feel like your setup has like slowly added more and more every single time.
Yeah, I put the Batman stocking up with my name on it over there, and then obviously the light and the Christmas lights. But the Christmas lights and the stocking probably come down soon. Christmas is over.
I like.
Anyway, let's talk Niners Lions. Let me play a quick little clip for you guys. This was Dan Campbell meeting with the media, and tell me what you guys think of this. He sounds fired up and ready to take it to the Niners. What do you guys think? Are the Lions going to try and embarrass the Niners on Monday?
They're going to try and run up the score. They're going to play physical. They're going to hit us. They're going to test us. They're going to do everything they can. They did not forget. It's personal. They're firing on all cylinders, and we're doing whatever the opposite of that is. So I am very nervous for this game. I think it could get ugly.
Yeah, I think the Lions look at the Niners like the Niners looked at the Eagles last year. So it's like an extra motivation game for different reasons. I think same way the Niners, or at least the Niners fans, and I would hope the Niners players look at the Chiefs now. Like whenever it's Chiefs week, it's like, oh man, you got to bring your A game. You want to beat them more than just about anybody. I'm sure that's how the Lions feel. Like they feel like they should have been in the Super Bowl last year. And I'm sure they feel like they would have won if they got there because they beat the Chiefs earlier in the season, last season, So I think that question was in response to people asking him if he was going to rest starters, right? So it wasn't so much like, hey, how do you feel about playing the Niners? He's like, we're bringing everything we got. It was more like, how do you feel about, resting guys? And I think he was like, screw that. I'm giving you all that I got. So I respect that. I mean, I know there's two schools of thought, and you've got to like balance it and be smart. You don't want to send somebody out there that might be a little dinged up. But I mean, if your guys are pretty much healthy, you should play them. Keep them in football shape. Keep them sharp. So I'm not surprised by that from Dan Campbell. He seems like an old school football guy.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Lions to be very motivated for this game, get up for this game, just like you said, Steven. Like the Niners were, the way they felt toward the Eagles last year, were like when the schedule came out, they circled that game like we're bringing everything we got for that game. And yeah, I think the Lions feel like they gave that game, the NFC Championship, they gave that game away to the Niners. The Niners got lucky with that Brandon Ayuk catch, and then Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down twice instead of kicking field goals that would have made the game a 3-score game instead of a 2-score game, and the Niners turned those around and score. Yeah, that game could have easily gone the other way. So, oh boy, I'm expecting the Lions to come very strong for this game. Go ahead, Jason.
I agree, but how funny would it be when we're having a down season and they're trying to fight for that number 1 seed if we beat them?
They hate us even more. Like, can you imagine, like, yeah, how they would feel about the Niners next year? They'd be like, screw those Niners, man. Like,
we'd be in there rent free.
The one thing that the Niners actually do have going for them is no pressure of any kind. Like they can just do whatever the heck they want, play fast and loose. Like nothing matters right now in terms of the stakes for the Niners. It's just playing for pride, playing for spots next year. You
Tracks.
know, yeah, whatever. Like I feel like sometimes those teams can be dangerous, and like all of a sudden they're going to look great, and you're going to be like, "Where the hell was this all season? Why did you guys not figure this out sooner?" But I mean, I expect the Lions to beat them. I don't think that anybody's picking the Niners to beat the Lions. I think that they just could keep it more competitive than their records might suggest.
The one thing I've noticed about the Lions this season is that they don't play down to competition. And I've paid a decent amount of attention to them just because they're like best team in the NFC. And man, when they're supposed to beat a team, they blow them the heck out. And then they also bring it when they play the good teams too. So
That's what championship caliber teams do.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. They come ready every week.
Do the Lions and Vikings play each other in the final week of the season?
Yeah.
So that's the thing where it's like, because I saw like if the Vikings win out, they will be the 1 seed, which
Yep.
is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Did the Vikings just lose this past weekend?
Nope. They won a close game
The
to the
Seahawks?
by 3 points, I think.
Yeah, okay. So the Vikings they got to win out. Man, can you imagine having the season that the Lions had and then it just gets stolen from you in week 18?
You're the 5 seed
I
because of
know.
it.
So then they'd play the 2 seed, right?
Philly. Which
So yeah, I mean that's an NFC Championship preview. And all of a sudden you got to play them in the divisional or wildcard weekend.
How irritated would you be if you're Philly? If you're like, I got to play these guys first. Like, what a tough path, because you're going to get tested and beat up for whoever you face next.
Yep.
Yeah, for the Niners, this is going to be a pride game. Like, what do you got? Like you said, they're not playing for anything. You can just hang it all out. You can play all out. You don't have to worry about. I mean, I guess you always got to worry about injury, but there's nothing to lose in this game. I don't want to see last week against the Dolphins, the Niners, same thing. They had nothing to play for other than pride and just want to go out and win. And Kyle was still like not going for it on 4th and short, punting the ball away. Like if Kyle's kicking field goals in this game, even if Moody's making them, we're gonna lose. Like, do they really want to go out there and try and win? If you do, you have to score touchdowns. You got to match that Lions' aggressiveness. You got to go for it on 4th down. Trust your quarterback. Put the ball in Brock's hands, not the kicker's hands, and let him go out and prove that he's the guy that you want to pay this offseason. Even though he's had some opportunities and he hasn't been able to do it, we'll give him another opportunity. Let him go out there and show what he can, and let this be a kitchen sink game where you show the Lions, even in like I was saying a couple weeks ago, even in a down year, we're still going to beat you. And that I know you think that NFC Championship game was a fluke. It wasn't. That Brandon Ayuk catch may have been a fluke, but hey, tell your DB to make a play and don't let the ball bounce off his face, and that won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to see the Niners go out there and at least put a man. If they were to win this game, that would be pretty sweet. It would screw up the draft pick, but like we've already talked about, I don't care about the draft position. I've
They're
seen
not.
them blow picks like
Yeah.
15th or 10th, whatever. Just go out there and at least don't get embarrassed.
I don't think the draft pick is going to be dramatically different either way. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say I want to see some trick plays. I want to see Juwan Jennings throwing a pass. I want
Yeah.
to see a fake punt. I want to, kitchen sink, like you said. I want him to pull out all the stops and just go for it. Blitz, do whatever. Let's switch it up. Let's go for it. Let's play aggressive. There's literally nothing to lose here.
The only
So
problem with your fake punt idea is Kyle has admitted that he won't run a fake punt. He said that publicly because he said, if I'm going to go for it, I'll just put my offense out there.
even though Mitch proved he could do it, I know Mitch isn't playing, but they should incorporate that. But
He did prove that, although that wasn't a call, if you remember. He
oh
just
yeah, no,
he saw a look and he took it. And I'm like, yeah, good for you, Mitch. That was an excellent play. Too bad it got called back, though, remember?
Mitch said, "Screw you, Kyle. I'm doing what I want." But um, Chasen, you say you've been paying pretty close attention to the Lions. I know they've had injuries, and it sounds like they've had pretty significant ones.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I see teams put up big points against the Lions, and the Lions just outscore them. So is it mostly on defense? Like I don't know all their guys that are out. Of course, Hutchinson, I know about him being
They've
out.
lost a ton of guys on defense.
So like this could be an exciting game to a certain degree if the Niners can pull their heads out and not beat themselves like they've been doing all year. If they can actually put some offense together, this could be a high scoring affair.
Yeah, it's going to be an opportunity for Brock to ball. Again, this is fantasy football, but when I'm looking at my fantasy players, I have a couple Niners that are going up against the Lions, obviously, and the matchup says Detroit 29th, and it's green, which is good.
Yeah,
Like their
let's play
defense
them.
right now
Yeah.
is struggling, so you want your Niners in your fantasy lineups. Kittle's at 967 yards. I checked before this. Just a cool 33 or more would be
That's
great
one.
to get
That's
him up
one
to a
catch.
thousand.
That's one catch for Kittle. Man, let's go.
Seriously, yeah. And feel free to give him 5 or 6 more. Let's get him 50, 60 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then if you want to rest him week 18, I'm fine with that.
That would be great. How
Quick.
far is Juwan?
Oh, I can look that up.
I
Let me
know
get.
that he did not
Yeah, go
have
ahead, Jason. I'll look up Jawan.
All right, look at one. Go ahead, Steven.
he did not have a big yard game, I know, last week because I needed him to, and he
I
didn't
know.
in fantasy. But
So quick stats, Detroit defense. Total yards, they're 18th. So they give up a lot of yards, but they seem to tighten it up in the red zone because their points allowed, they're 7th in the league. And then really quickly, points scored. So on offense now, they are 1st in the league. They have the highest scoring offense in the league.
Yeah, that sounds right. Kyle said at his press conference today that he noted that the Lions have a really good red zone defense.
the total yards is always a misleading thing too, because teams might be, the fact that they're scoring so much on offense means the other teams are getting opportunities on offense,
They're getting garbage yards.
and they're getting garbage yards exactly at the end of games. So
Jennings is at 856.
dang,
He could get it. He really could.
yeah, he could, but it's not.
75 yards this week and next week, and he's there.
So the Lions have the number 4th ranked rush defense, and their pass defense is awful. It's the 27th ranked. So they're much more susceptible against the pass than against the run.
So I'm saying this is going to be a big Brock Purdy game. He's going to have a chance to really light it up.
Feed George, feed Juwan, sprinkle in some other guys.
Some Ricky, Slick Rick.
Some Ricky. Maybe see if we can hit Cowing on a deep ball.
I would love that. No,
Hey, maybe Deebo Samuel can show up for 2 weeks in a row. Let's see if we can get that going.
I was say Debo's finally heating up. He's gonna have like 150 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, well, these games don't matter, so Deebo's ready to ball.
He ready? It's Monday night, right? So it's prime time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hopefully Deebo can keep pumping up his whatever trade value he has left. Show the league he's not cooked.
So, I know this isn't so much Lions specific, but I feel like on our last pod, I was kind of hard on Brock. Like we were talking about, what happened and all that stuff. Something I thought about between then and today, he was dinged up. I know his shoulder was in bad shape. He's obviously missed a game. And I feel like that's just, at least for me, has just been kind of forgotten about. So in some ways, I almost want to cut him a little more slack than I did last time, because he's probably dealing with stuff that is affecting, how an injury can affect even your decision making, even other parts of your body. So, not trying to make excuses for him. I still think he needs to be better and do better, but I'm thinking, like, we're talking about Brock, big opportunity, all this stuff. I hope so. I hope he's feeling good enough. But that was just something I wanted to acknowledge, because last time I did not acknowledge that, and I think that he might be better than what he's been showing in the last month or so.
Yeah, I mean, so last weekend, the Matthews side of the family, we decided to get together and play football, and we made teams, and we got everyone together, and we had a backyard football. It was raining on us and everything. We outlawed cleats, so everyone was sliding around in the mud. It was a lot of fun. Me being the old man that I am, I actually pulled my groin toward the end of it, and I was kind of trying to play through it. I'd never really pulled a muscle before, even I playing football, running track, playing soccer. Never really pulled a muscle, but I really felt a pull. And after that, I was trying to play through it, but it's constantly in your mind. Like I can't really, like we would rush the passer. I was trying to play safety. It affects. So to your point, Steven, you could be feeling something in your shoulder, like Brock might be. Fred's feeling his ankle. Like it affects every single movement when you're out on the field. And I just brought that up because just recently I was actually playing football for fun, and I could just feel my groin with every single step. So yeah, I mean, the guys in the NFL, they all say this time of the year no one's healthy. And Brock had the shoulder thing; he missed a game, and he came back, and then we were just like, okay, Brock's back, and kind of pretended like the shoulder thing didn't exist. And I'm sure to some capacity it's affecting him because the ball doesn't quite look like it's flying out of his hand. Not that he has the type of arm to where it's like jumping out of his hand like a Josh Allen pass or something, but Brock's got a good enough arm and he's accurate and he's been a little inaccurate and there's been some throws where you're like, man, he should fire that thing in there and he just doesn't. So I'm sure something's bothering him.
Agreed.
Okay, actually, well, I'll do this after actually. Let's do this. Let's pick some X factors, some guys we think if the Niners are going to win this game, who's going to ball out?
Could we get an injury report? I just want to know who's out. Who's like for sure out.
Well, we won't get that until Friday.
I
Okay.
think I saw something though that is Garindo expected to play, or was his status just upgraded, or
He's limited in practice with his foot and his hamstring. Kyle said earlier that he's expecting him to play. I know Banks is out. I think Burford was limited, maybe.
Well, that's good. Is Dre?
Trent's obviously been shut down.
Trent's
That
done
was
for
the
the
other
year.
update. Dre Greenlaw got shut down for the season officially. Kyle said that today.
Oh man. And wait, did you say Fred is too?
The Fred's playing.
Okay, Fred's playing and no Dre. So D Winters is playing. Okay.
You have to cut Fred's leg off for him to not play.
I bet that's
Seriously.
I bet that's really tough for Dre. I kind of feel bad for him. You know he wants to play.
Oh yeah. Kyle said he was understandable, but I'm sure he's frustrated.
Yeah. All right, I'll go first. My X factors on offense are going to be Juwan Jennings. I think, hey, the Lions are a hard-nosed team, but so is Juwan Jennings. I think the tough guys are going to be the guys that have good games against the Lions. So they're not going to get pushed around. And Juwan Jennings, the ultimate tough guy, especially on offense, other than maybe like Kittle, like out of the weapons. He's probably the toughest guy out there, the most physical. So I'm going to say Juwan Jennings definitely goes over 100 yards, at least one touchdown. I could see him like 120, 130 yards. I think he's going to have a big game. I think he's going to have at least one or two explosive plays where he just like yaks like 20, 30 yards, something like that. So I think Juwan's going to have a great game on offense. And on defense, I got to go Lenore again. Lenore's another tough guy. He's not going to put up with anybody's ish. I know they have good receivers on the Lions, so he's going to be all fired up. I don't know if he's going to get matched up a lot against Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think that will be a really fun matchup.
Probably.
He's definitely going to bring his hard hat. He's going to come to play. So I'm going to go Lenore and Juwan.
What do you think, Steven?
I really want to pick an O lineman for my X factor, but I don't know.
Nick Zakel.
Yeah, I
is the
don't
X
know.
factor.
I don't know who to settle on. Like I was even thinking about McKivitz because I sort of feel like if because we're talking about all these pass opportunities, and it's like, look, if you can hold up and pass pro, but that's boring to pick an O lineman. So
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with.
I mean, an X factor doesn't have to fill out the stat sheet. It's just got to be a guy that contributes and
but
has a big time game.
it's really hard to isolate one O lineman. It's not when they're making mistakes, but in terms of like, man, like
I'm not going to sit here and watch McKivitz all night.
right. Other than Trent Williams, I've never seen an O lineman put together like a highlight reel. So it's kind of hard to focus on the positive for just one. But
Don't forget about Joe Staley now.
I know, but I'm saying like, impact like plays, like, destroying somebody's, life on a run block or whatever. So I'm going to go with somebody who I think Chasen mentioned earlier as my offensive X factor. And I'm going to say Cowing. I'm going to say that he does get a chance to make a couple big plays, but I also think that he'll make an impact in the special teams. I think he'll have some good returns. I'm not saying he's going to take one all the way to the house or whatever, but I feel like I've noticed him steadily getting better with like his decision making on his returns, where I'm like, oh, nice move. Oh, that was good. Yeah, good angle, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we start seeing, instead of a, you know, 8 to 10 yard average, it's a 12 to 15 yard average. And that little stuff can make a big difference. So I'm
He's
gonna
just
say
got to stay on
Cowing.
his feet.
Yeah, I know. But I'm gonna say Cowing for my X factor, just because I want to pick somebody other than a household name as well. And
Sure.
then for defense, man, I don't even know. It's hard because, like Jason said, their offense is so good. The Lions' offense, and I don't know that anybody's going to look like they're a defensive stud. So I'm going to go with, um, gosh, I want to say Mustafa, but is he even going to be back?
Oh, good question. I forgot he missed the last game.
Yeah, that's who. You know what? I'm gonna go with. It's gonna be a boring one, but I'm gonna go with that guy Anderson, the guy that wears the Guardian cap, for the on
Evan
the
Anderson.
yeah, on the interior D line, just because I think if the Niners, I know he's like known for his run D, if they can shut down the run game, which I think David Montgomery might be out, or
Oh
at
yeah,
least
He's out
he
for the.
was flirting with end of the season
okay,
surgery, so he's going to
okay.
be out. If they make like the conference championship game, he might be able to play then, but he's definitely out this week.
So if they can make the Lions one dimensional, because I know the strength of the Lions, well, they have a lot of strengths, but I know their O line is awesome.
Hmm.
So if they can, like, I'm not going to say stop, but limit their effectiveness in the run game and make the Lions more one dimensional, I think that'll be huge. And so that's my X factor, is a guy who's going to be on the interior doing the dirty work and hopefully shutting down some of those running lanes.
All right, were you going to say something, Jason?
No, I was just saying I like it.
Yeah. So for mine, I'm going to pick on defense the highest paid player on the team, the highest paid defensive player in the league. It's Nick Bosa. Like a lot of things have gone wrong for the Niners this year, and I don't feel like we're talking very about Nick Bosa very much. And he hasn't had much of an impact this season. And I know in the last, well, really since the bye week, he's probably been dealing with the hip and the oblique stuff. But he had the one nice tackle on like the first drive to stuff the run last week against the Dolphins, and then I didn't hear his name again. And as you said, Steven, the Lions have a really good offensive line. He's going to be going against Penei Sewell, who's widely regarded as the best right tackle in the league now. So go beat him. Go establish that you are the guy. You deserve all that money. Go beat him. We know Jared Goff's not moving in the pocket. Fluster Goff. Niners know how to beat Goff. They got to make him move and get in his face and hit him and sack him. So Bosa, go take over and be a $34 million defensive player of the year player and go dominate. So there's my defensive guy. On offense, again, just because you guys didn't highlight him, and I liked your guys' pick, but I'll pick the obvious ones. Brock Purdy, rebound. There's going to be some opportunities in this game where he's gonna have opportunities to be clutch. I don't know if he's gonna have a fourth quarter drive where they're down three and they can take a lead, but they might come down to a fourth quarter, a 10-point deficit where they can score and get within three. And hey, if the defense gets stopped, get the ball back, who knows? Keep it close. Feed the guys that are playing well right now, which, I'll give Debo his credit. That feed Debo, get Kittle his 1,000 yards, get Jawan 75 plus, like distribute the ball, be accurate, and most importantly, of course, make good decisions. Throw the balls to the right guys, throw the ball away if you have to, take a sack if you have to, and don't be afraid to run around and get some yards with your legs. So I want to see Brock have a good game, make good decisions, and keep this game close and keep this team in it. So who knows? Maybe in the fourth quarter they'll be within striking distance.
I think Brock's going to have some opportunities for some explosive plays this game. Like if he's accurate with his deep ball and intermediate ball, I could definitely see him piling up some stats, like at least in like the 300 range. He's just got to hit those deep balls because I think there's going to be explosives available against this Lions defense. And they're going to be having to hit those because they're probably going to have to play keep up because the Lions offense is so dang explosive. So I think there's going to be some opportunity for Purdy. If he's accurate, I think he could stack up a lot of yards and put a lot of points on the board.
I bet you that Kyle schemes up at least a couple plays for George in the first 15. You know how he scripts like the first 15 or whatever? I bet you there's like at least a couple plays in there that are going to be like those. How did Kittle get so wide open, like over in the middle with room to run? Because I have a feeling he's going to want to get him, his stats early, get it taken care of, and not have it be a distraction. I think Kyle's.
The screen game's been hitting, especially for George. So keep it going.
Yeah, so I bet you there's going to be a couple of those in that first 15 unless the Lions do what they can to take it away.
I don't know. I mean, schematically, if they call the right plays, I guess they could, but I don't think the Lions have the personnel to take George Kittle away.
Who does?
I don't know. The Niners, because they got Fred Warner.
The Niners, healthy, probably have the best chance.
Probably the Ravens with what's that guy, Hamilton or whatever?
Yeah.
Hamilton's good, yeah.
Or maybe Arizona.
And he's big.
Buda Baker.
Buda's too light.
Buda is really good, but Kittle's beating him repeatedly, so I'll take Kittle all day in that matchup.
Hey, random thought for Lions. Is E-Man still around?
I haven't heard that name in a while.
I know.
So he obviously tore his ACL like 2 years ago, and then he came back and he was playing for him, but I think he either tore it again or he had another bad injury.
I feel bad for that guy. I always liked E-Man.
Jason, go ahead and give your prediction, and I'm going to look up and see what E-Man's up to.
Okay, I was just looking it up too. It looks like he's still on the Lions, but okay. So, score prediction. I'm going Detroit Lions 37, 20. Lions are going to blow us out. That's my prediction. I'm sorry.
That is a disgusting act.
Gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. I think they're gonna beat our butts.
30. Would you say 37-20?
Yep.
Oh man, what do you think, Steven?
I almost want to pick the Niners just because I still have not picked against them, but I feel like I've got to be true and genuine with what I think, and I don't expect them to win this game. But I do think they're going to score points. I do think that it's going to be, higher scoring than what Chasen's given them credit for. So I'm going to say they keep it a little closer. I'm going to say that there's going to be times in the game where we think, oh my gosh, they can actually do this. And then I'm going to say that the Lions just kind of figure out a way to, salt it away. So I'll say Lions 34, Niners 27.
Okay. Man, so you guys are both – the Lions are scoring points in this game. And I don't even disagree. Oh, boy. Like you, Steven, I want to pick the Niners to win because we're finally going to be like, all right, the Niners, they're going to lose this game. And then they're just going to show up and win. The problem is I just don't think – even though the Lions are hurt on defense, the Niners are down to backups and the backups on offense, especially at left guard. So I'm just concerned that Brock's going to be running for his life and under a ton of pressure, and they're not going to have very many running lanes. And I want the offense to play well, but I'm not sure that they are. So that being said, I'm going to say the Niners keep it close, maybe even with an opportunity to win, and Brock throws a game-ending interception. I'll say 27-24 Lions.
I'm sorry to say, but I feel more confident in him doing that than anything else in the game-ending situation at this point. I would love for him to prove me wrong, but it's just the way that it's been going.
Do it, Brock. We're a bunch of haters. Prove us wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Well,
I don't know if hopefully Chasen still has a little bit of time, but you were talking about wanting to compare NFC teams. I wanted to hear about that.
That's what I was just going to throw it to right now. So I got the regular season records for what, in my opinion, are the 5 best teams in the NFC since 2019.
Hmm.
First of all, just take a guess. Who do you think has the best record in the NFC regular season over the last 5 years?
2019.
Since 2019, and you're only talking NFC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go Packers.
Steven?
I think the Packers was the first team that came to my mind, but I'll say Niners.
It's the Packers.
Okay.
Okay, so the Niners are 60-38. The Eagles 59-38-1. The
Hmm.
Lions, and I only threw the Lions in there, even though they haven't been the best for 5 years. They're right there now. 45-51-2 losers. The Rams 55-42, and the Packers 7 games ahead of the Niners, 67-31.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was the Packers. I was just trying to be different than what he said. But a team you didn't say that I think actually would have a pretty good record is the Cowboys. Where are they at in comparison?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had those 3 straight 12-5 seasons, huh?
I would think that they're better than the Lions at least.
Oh yeah, I
Check
just
the record.
don't care about them, and the Lions are right there. 57-41.
Okay, so they're just behind like the Eagles.
Yeah, they're 3 games back of the Niners. So anyway, the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because I've heard people say that the current Lions team is what the Niners used to be. Like they're like the dominant, young, and hungry team that have like no weaknesses when you look around the team. And I'm wondering, the Niners beat the Lions in the NFC Championship last year. The Lions could have won that game. They were right there. Do you think the Lions view this as like not a passing of the torch, because the Niners aren't going to pass the torch willingly. The Lions are going to rip the torch from the Niners and say, "You were the best team in the NFC. Now we are, and we're going to go out there and beat you on Monday night to prove it." And that's going to be kind of what maybe their catalyst to get the monkey off their back of the team that ended their season, and that's going to be the catalyst that shoots them into the postseason, and they go and win their Super Bowl.
I would say yes. I don't want to just say they're going to win their Super Bowl, but I think it is going to be personal. It's going to be more than a regular season game. And I would honestly agree that they do remind me of like the young 49ers when they were hungry and physical and talking crap and backing it up.
Bullies.
Yeah, the bullies blowing teams out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this season, I've noticed like teams want to kick the Niners while they're down. Like I remember when the Rams won, I think it was their running back had that quote like, we're the bully now, or we're the big brother now, finally, or something along those lines. And I think that's how
He's new here. He doesn't get it.
he is new here. But I think teams are relishing the opportunity to finally we can like beat these guys that have bullied us the past 5 years. And there's some familiar faces and names, and it's Kyle Shanahan, and they're not that good this season. And now's finally our chance, and we're gonna really pummel them, and we're gonna try and blow them out as best we can. So yes, I think the Lions more than any team will be like licking their chops, like Lions would. Like they're gonna want to just absolutely devour us. But yeah, the Niners are a prideful team for as bad as they've played and as disjointed, like you said. Like they're not going to pass that baton. They're going to try to punch the Lions in the mouth. They might miss. They might miss the punch, and the Lions counter punch and knock us flat on our backs, but they're not going to go out without a fight at the minimum. I know that. Maybe Devondre Campbell would, but no one else on the roster, I don't think,
Don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, would go down without a fight. So, yeah, that was a long winded, but to answer your question, yes, I think it's gonna be personal. I think they're gonna want to really take it to us, rip the baton out of our hands, and I don't know if it's gonna give them more momentum. They already have so much. But I do think they're going to come in like extra fiery and spicy.
So, a couple thoughts. One is Lions need to have a little more staying power before they get too much of a comparison. They've had one, kind of up and comer year last year where they made a run all the way to the NFC Championship game. And now this year they look really good. They look like one of the best teams in the league. But let's see how they do this postseason before we start talking about them, because what if they actually do lose in the first round, or even in the divisional round? Like, that doesn't compare. And honestly, you could make the argument that the Eagles are more there than the
Mm-hmm.
Lions. They've had more staying power. They had their down year last year, but the year before that, they're in the Super Bowl, and they might go back this year. They're right
Mm-hmm.
there. So it's like, I don't think it's like the Lions are already the obvious heir apparent. They might be one of those teams that could be it. The team, like the Niners team that the Lions actually remind me of more, is the Harbaugh Niners than the Shanahan Niners, like passing that torch or whatever. And I want to say like the Alex Smith led Harbaugh Niners, because you say that they'd have no obvious weaknesses. I still am not a big believer in Goff. Like, I think he's good. I'm not saying he's bad. I think he's a good, serviceable starting quarterback in this league. But I don't think he's going to come through for you in those pressure situations. I just don't think. I mean, he feels like Kirk Cousins to me, a guy that's going to do things well when things are running smoothly and keep you on time. And I really hope that Brock Purdy isn't one of those guys, even though it's looking a little bit like he's one of those guys. But I feel like it's that same type of camp. I feel like he is what I fear Brock Purdy is going to be, somebody that can only do a good job when things are going well. I feel like we've mentioned it before. I know I've seen it at least before, and we talked about how all the indoor games that the Lions have had, and like that's a huge advantage this year. And yeah, I know they've had injuries and they've been able to overcome. Props to them for that. But they've had some things fall their way this season. I think they've won a couple games that they probably should have lost. I didn't watch the whole game. I just know that like they came back and took it at the end. And once again, props to them for doing it. But some of that is luck and the way the ball bounces and everything. And we've seen it both ways. As Niner fans, we've seen the opposite side of that this year. So I am not ready to steal the Dennis Green thing from way back when to crown them. I think they're really good, and I think that they could be that. But I feel like, talk to me in 2 more seasons if you're trying to talk about like taking the baton of what the Niners have been, because even though this season sucks, it's been horrible to go through. When you look at 2019 to now, even if you want to include now, Lions can't even dream of that kind of success at this point of what the Niners have, and and the Niners haven't even been to the mountaintop in that time. So, anyways, I understand the spirit of your question, Ryan. I
Mm-hmm.
guess I'm not ready to say that like, oh yeah, it's the Lions. Like, they're a good story, and I'm happy for them because they've been, miserable for so many years. I'd like to see the Lions do well. I'd rather see the Lions go win the Super Bowl than the Eagles, and some other teams in the NFC. But of course, it's always hard to root for an NFC team when you're a Niner fan, in my opinion. So,
So you're
anyways,
not crowning their ass.
I'm not crowning their ass, and I don't think I'm not. They feel like a different team to me. I don't think they're the the Shanahan Niners. They seem, honestly, from what I understand, they seem a little more physical. Like, I know the Niners were a physical bunch too, but I feel like the Niners were more like intimidate you. Not, and I know they beat you up. I know with the stat about everybody losing the week after. I know they
That was an
still,
insane stat.
yeah, which is beautiful, right? Like, I love that. And they were definitely a big physical team, but I feel like the Niners did it with their brains too, whereas it feels to me like the Lions are more just like, we're just going to pummel you, and hopefully that pummeling works. And when it doesn't work, damn, that sucks. Whereas the Niners are like, yeah, we're going to kick your ass, but we're also going to outflank you. We're going to find ways to outsmart
Mm-hmm.
you as we go. So, anyways, and that's probably not giving the Lions enough credit, but yeah. So I'm not ready to say that like they could stomp the Niners. The final score could be 37-3 on Monday night, and I don't feel like that's any symbolic passing of anything. They beat a team that they should beat, and just be another like feather in the cap of a crappy season for the Niners if they got stomped. But anyway, so that's my answer.
I saw a video on Twitter the other day. It was like an African safari, and there's this male lion, and he's got a big old mane, but he looks skinny and anorexic and old and decrepit, and he's walking and he's by himself. There's no pride, no nothing. And the caption was like, kind of like, this is what it looks like when the old lion gets pushed out of his pride and the new lion takes over. And that's kind of what the spirit of the question was like. Are the Niners that old lion that can't defend their pride anymore, and they're getting moved out for the new young, strong, and hungry Lions coming in and literally playing the Lions. But you're right. Like, to me, the Niners have been the best team in the NFC because even though the Packers have the better record, the Niners beat the Packers in the postseason multiple times. They've been to multiple Super Bowls. Unfortunately, they haven't won one. They've been to 4 out of the last 5 NFC championships. No team in the NFC has done that. Not even the Eagles, who in my mind are the second best team in the NFC. Still not the Packers, because the Packers just don't scare me. Now they kind of do. But as long as Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback, even though he's better than Jordan Love for whatever reason, they just didn't scare me. Just like with Jared Goff and the Lions, like I don't care how good they are, I feel pretty good about the Niners' chances with Jared Goff back there, even though I did pick the Niners to lose. But so yeah, I agree that it isn't like some passing of the torch moment, but I think for the Lions, like it's a big deal to go and win this game because the Niners have been the bullies and they have been the best in the NFC, and if they can win this game, even though it's against a down Niners team, they can all of a sudden feel like, we kind of got over that hump, and now it's time to go get over that final hump. But the Eagles could knock them down. The Vikings have been. It's like I keep waiting for the Vikings to fall off, and they're just, to their credit, they're just not. So the Vikings almost feel like the 2019 Niners because the Niners. I remember that season they were like 8-0, and
Yeah.
people were like, "Yeah, the Niners, whatever. Well, we'll see." And then it's like they're 13-3 for the number 1 seed, and people are like, I mean, I guess they're good. I don't know. And then they're in the Super Bowl, and it was like, now looking back, it's like, yeah, the Niners had arrived, and maybe the Vikings have too. So, but yeah, I agree with you, Steven. The Lions are going to have to do it for a couple more years before they're the new class of the NFC, if you will.
They got to go lose to Mahomes in the Super Bowl before they can start
Yeah.
calling themselves the class of the NFC. Like, come on, get in line, buddy.
Exactly. And what if they go? What if they beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl? Does that change anything?
Yeah, puts them over the top, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they get to have that over the Niners, of course, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I have recency bias of seeing the results of yesterday, but I'm like, I don't know if any of the NFC teams are going to beat the Chiefs or the Ravens, let alone the Bills. So I'm just like, it seems like the teams to beat the powerhouses are in the AFC this year, and it's like NFC, good luck. I mean, and honestly, if you made me pick, like, okay, you have to choose the NFC team that you think is most likely to beat an AFC team, I would pick the Eagles. I wouldn't pick the Lions, but that's just my take.
All right. I think the Lions are better than the Eagles are. If there's any team that's going to beat an AFC team, in my opinion, it's going to be the Lions. I think Goff's just better than Hurts, and I mean they both have a ton of talent on offense and defense, but I think Goff's better. I think the Lions are also way better coached than the Eagles, so I would take the Lions definitely.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni's a friggin' fraud as far as I'm concerned. But they
I,
do have good coordinators.
That's
I would
that's
love to
a
see
good,
the
it's a good point.
uh,
Yeah.
Lions Eagles NFC Championship game. And
me too.
So hey, quick note on your Packers stat because I was thinking about it as you were talking about their record. I feel like that has been assisted by them being in a weaker division for the last 5 years because other than the Lions of this year and last year, they have not been good. I feel like the Vikings have always been like mediocre at best.
average as the day is long.
Right. They've been Kirk Cousins, which is, he's the exact symbol of what that team was. And then the Bears have stunk like
Yeah.
forever. So I feel like they've got to beat up. Whereas the Niners during that period, they had a season where the Super Bowl winner came out of their division and it wasn't them. And the Cardinals haven't been good every year, but there's been times where they've been competitive, and the Seahawks have definitely been frisky at times in the last 5 years, including making playoff runs. So I feel like the Packers have had a little bit of an assist, and that stat might be a little misleading if you're talking about regular season wins.
I
Yeah,
agree. That's why they're not even the third best team over that stretch to me, because when they get to the postseason, they lose.
Yep.
yeah, they are chronically, at least recently. Like I know they've won Super Bowls, but as of recent, they are like the regular season heroes. And then I've never really over the last like 5 years or whatever, 10 years, I've never been scared to play the Packers in the playoffs. I've always been excited. I'll be like, yes, this is actually kind of an easy matchup.
Which Steven can speak of to when it was the exact opposite,
Oh,
right?
I hated that. I hated the Packers. I still do because of that, because it was like the Niners are the better team. They have the better record. They have the better players, and yet the Packers just matched up well and they beat them. And like the Niners would probably have 2 more Super Bowls if it wasn't for the stupid Packers.
Do you guys feel like so, Steven, because of that, you have like a long term hatred of the Packers? You obviously, all of us, Cowboys, even like more recently, like Seahawks. Are you guys going to hate the Chiefs for the rest of your life?
I've noticed my hatred grow of the Chiefs this year more than ever. Like, it's kind of crazy because even after last year, I was like, respect to them. It sucks, whatever. But yeah, this year, I think because they're doing so well and everybody's just like, oh my gosh, they're going to be three-peat. And I'm like, if they three-peat, yeah, that's going to be because the 1999ers should have been the first three-peat team. They were incredible, and they just had that bad luck against the Giants where Montana got hurt. I believe if that doesn't happen, they three-peat, and So I feel like no other team deserves it because the Niners should have already done it. But I do feel like I'm gonna dislike the Chiefs at least as long as Mahomes is there. Even though I love Mahomes, I think he's great. So I like have all the respect in the world for him. But like the other team that I recently hated is the Patriots. And now that both Brady and Belichick are gone, I don't hate the Patriots anymore. So I'm sure that it'll disappear, over time once the culture changes or whatever. But I like Andy Reid, I like Patrick Mahomes, so it's hard to like truly hate them, but I definitely don't want them to do well.
Comeback win and then an overtime win against the Niners in the Super Bowl. I am scarred. Ryan, will you hate him forever?
Okay, so I have kind of a hippy dippy answer for you. I've really tried to make an effort when it comes to sports to not use the word hate. Like, I don't hate any players or teams. I don't know these people.
Yeah.
It sucks to see my team lose in the Super Bowl to the same team. And if the Niners obviously aren't going to the Super Bowl this year, and if the Chiefs get back, or even throughout the playoffs, like I'm gonna certainly root for whoever's playing the Chiefs, no question.
Mhm.
The Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey stuff is annoying. So like I would like to see that just be over.
Yeah.
But to say that like I'm gonna hate the Chiefs forever, or even like I hate the Seahawks, like Russell Wilson was like Osama bin Laden as far as I'm concerned to the Niners. Like he's a terrorist. Couldn't stand him. But like to say that I hate him, like Russell Wilson is I think a weirdo, maybe. He's awkward, but like he's a good man. He's a husband, he's a father. He takes care of his family. I was gonna say humble, but maybe not. Maybe he's been humbled recently, but for a time he was actually kind of arrogant. But like I don't want to be the fan that like hates. Oh, I hate those guys. Like I don't know you. I don't have anything personal against you. I'm gonna root against you, and that's it.
All right. I'll be
So
the hater then. I
I
hate the Chiefs.
I was gonna say I want to agree with you, Ryan. Like everything you're saying is perfectly logical and makes sense, but I feel like there's some stuff like I will never want good things for the Cowboys, no matter what. Like that one is the one that is like the most deeply rooted in me. Like they can have 20 losing seasons in a row and I want them to have 21. Like I don't think that I would ever have a sympathy like rooting for the Cowboys. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily hate when you're talking about hate, because I agree with you. It's probably not good to hate anybody, but I feel like that's as close. Like if that's not sports hate, I don't know what is, because it's like I don't ever want good things for you guys. I don't want people to like get hurt or anybody to die. That's not what I'm saying, But
Right.
I would love to see you guys just struggle
Be
forever
healthy and try your best and lose.
and just keep losing and losing and losing. So to
Always.
me, that feels kind of like hate if I feel, because I'm just truly feel that way about them.
It's why I loved the Jason Garrett Cowboys, because they were never bad enough to get a good draft pick and draft good players, but they were never good enough to be a threat. So it was like, you guys can just suffer in mediocrity for a decade. That's awesome.
I feel like McCarthy's done a pretty good job in carrying that torch.
Sure has,
He
yeah.
gives them a little more hope because he can win more than he loses, but they're still the same old Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I want to agree with you, but I feel like there's examples, and I think a lot of it is just when it's not even so much being a kid or whatever. It's just when it really means a lot to you. Like I think for Chasen, I don't know for sure, but I feel like Seahawks are always going to be probably the top of his list in terms of like I want to beat them. I always want the Niners to beat them. Yeah. So for me, that's the Cowboys, right? Like that comes out of when it was just the peak of me being into. I mean, I don't know if I've had a peak. I've been pretty high in terms of being into the Niners forever, but like my formative years as a Niner fan was the Cowboys beating them, and then the Niners finally overcoming, and it just was pure jubilation. Yeah. So, um, yeah. So I feel like it just depends on when. And so for some young kids right now, or even some 20 somethings that are really getting into the Niners, Chiefs will probably be the top of their list. Hate the
Yeah.
damn Chiefs, because of what they've experienced recently. That's probably what they would say. But yeah, I don't. And for some people, it's the Raiders. Like it's like the
Yeah.
regional thing. It's like they and Raider fans feel the same way about the Niners. So it's I feel like sports hate is different than hate, like real hate or whatever. And I think that it does exist. I feel like as much as I want to be the bigger person or the better person, I think that I'm a victim of it.
One thing I'll say is since I've been dating Sarah, it's been when the Niners have been losing to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And this is the time that she's like gotten into the Niners. And I'd say that she dislikes the Chiefs more than any team. She's
Yeah.
always wanting to see the Chiefs lose. And yeah, I feel like for her, like it's a good example of like getting into the Niners and it's like the Chiefs are kind of the number one op. And so that's the team she dislikes.
My 94-year-old grandma the other day was cheering when the Steelers scored a touchdown because she just wants to see whoever's playing the Chiefs win. She's like a Giants fan for the Dodgers. It's like my favorite team is the Giants. My second favorite team is whoever's playing the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my grandma for the Chiefs right now. So yeah, like I remember when the Niners lost to the Seahawks in the 2013 NFC Championship game. Like I I got way too drunk and I was like screaming at the TV and I was cursing. And then like Navarro Bowman tore his knee up and I
Ooh.
was just like devastated. And obviously the year before that, we went to the Super Bowl and we saw him lose. And I feel like that was the height of my like emotional up and down with the team. And ever since that run and then kind of coming down off it, it's almost like that run kind of killed some part of me inside. And now I just kind of watch them more cold and analytically. Because I remember being at your house, Steven, when we went to go watch the Niners and Chiefs 2019 Super Bowl, and you obviously had to go to the hospital. Candace was in labor, and I remember the game ending after just like they're winning the whole game, and then all of a sudden the Chiefs have this comeback and it's over, and I just kind of looked at my mom like, "Ready to go?"
Hmm.
Like it's just like I didn't really care. And even last year, watching them lose in the Super Bowl, I went to my mom's house, and she's like crying as they're losing. And I'm like, I was telling her like, Mom, it's just a game. Like we're not even playing the game. Who cares?
See, you're protecting yourself and you're a little numb, and that's
Maybe
smart.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're smart to do it. I can't do it completely. Like now, this season, I can. I didn't care last Sunday that the Dolphins, beat them. I wanted the Niners to win. I was rooting for them, but I was like, game's over. Okay, on to the next thing. Like really hard for there to be any emotional investment. But yeah, like last year's Super Bowl, that sucked. 2019, I mean, I was way distracted, but once I had time to process, like it does stick with you. And I'm glad that it still does. I'm glad that it affects me. I don't curse at the TV. I've learned to,
I
keep
was
it in
young and
check.
drunk and
Yeah, yeah,
emotional.
no, yeah, that it's fine. I mean, I had
I
those
had
times.
to apologize to Mark's parents because I was being so obnoxious, and they were like, "This is too much," and they had to leave. And
You need
I
to
was
calm
so
down,
embarrassed.
son.
Ever since then, I was like, I've been so embarrassed.
Well, Candace tells stories about like when I was young, like in college, and she would like come up to visit me for the weekend. Like if the Niners lost on Sunday, like I was miserable to be around. I wasn't like yelling or whatever, but I was just in a
Just bad
bad
mood.
mood. Yeah. So she's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, the Niners lost, so I think I'm going to head home. And it's like, as I couldn't blame her. I mean, I didn't necessarily like it, but I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get it. Because she said, you take this way too seriously, or you let it affect you too much. And I think that that's part of growing up too, right? Like you just learn, you get those battle scars, like you're talking about, Ryan, where you know that it's just a game, and also, life is bigger, right? You
Hmm.
eventually get married and you have responsibilities, and then you have kids eventually, and whatever. So yeah, it's good to keep that in perspective, but you should still let yourself feel it because that's part of the fun,
Definitely.
and I think that when, because I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when the Niners win another Super Bowl, I'm sure I'm going to cry like a baby. Like it's probably going to hit me because I've waited so long, since
I
since
know.
'94, and I've got to experience it before and know that like that joy exists, So, anyways, yeah,
I'll say this last Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs, the overtime, that one really hurt. That might have been the one that like killed a little part of it for me because that hurt being in overtime. So many opportunities at different times, pivotal moments to win the game. I still think about it. Like I still will just like be going to bed and I'm like, damn. Like, what if they just didn't blow that block and they were able to score and the Chiefs never got the ball on offense? It's like,
Darrell Luter, what are you doing?
there's
yeah,
so many there's so many what ifs about that game. I agree with you, Chase, in that like of their three Super Bowl losses, this latest one felt like the easiest, if you want to call it that way, to win, where they really had to have so many things go wrong. Like I feel like 2019 is more of a hat tip to the Chiefs than a
yeah,
shame on you Niners. Like I feel like the Chiefs earned
I would
it.
agree.
They went out there and figured out a way and took it. Whereas this one, the Chiefs, they still did, but they took advantage of the opportunities the Niners gave them. I mean, I feel like there's just so many basic things that you can point to. Luter, you can point to Greenlaw's injury, which is a fluke running on the field. You can point to that third down in the
yeah,
fourth quarter. If Brock picks that up, the Niners are Super Bowl champs if he finds a way.
A Jake Moody missed extra point.
A Jake Moody missed extra point. The block, the missed block by Burford, in OT, like at least that would have kept it um, potentially a tie, or at least the Chiefs are going for a 2-point conversion to try to win it all, which freaking Mahomes probably would have figured
I
out a
get
way
it.
to do that anyways. But, the Bosa did the right thing, but they had the Chiefs on fourth down on that overtime drive. And Bosa does what he's supposed to do. He crashes down on the running back and tackles the running back, and Mahomes pulls it and runs. And it's like, dude, just think about the moment. I know it's easy for me to say after the fact when you already know what happened, but like, go tackle Mahomes. Who cares? I would rather have you get Mahomes and stay on him, and then see if Pacheco is able to pick it up running towards the interior of your D line. Then I know he made the right play. He did the right thing, but it's like in the circumstances, do you really think Mahomes was going to let go of that ball? So I wish he would
No,
have just. I'm going for Mahomes. I don't care. I'm going to blow my assignment to go for the running back, and I'm going for Mahomes. And so it's like there's so many, like I just named what, like six things that are like, if any one of those plays goes differently, the outcome is different. And that all had to happen in order. And we didn't even talk about McCaffrey's fumble in the first quarter when they're humming and having a good drive. So like, yeah, it's a painful one because it feels like they screwed it up more than any of the others. They screwed up the Ravens one too. but
Yeah.
they screwed this one up with some of it just being bad luck. Like Luter, I give him a hard time over it, but that's just bad luck. That poor guy, you know.
And I had a strong feeling that the Niners were going to win. Not, it's just a
I
feeling.
was confident going into that game.
I was so confident, even when things were like starting to slip up. I had this like deep down feeling that I was like, it's going to be fine. Then I remember like telling Sarah how confident I was the Niners are going to win. I'm like, yeah, this is the year. Like, so freaking talented, so many good players, such a good offense,
Healthy.
such a good defense, good coaching. Like, I was so confident that they were going to win. I was in shock, like legitimate shock when they lost. I just could not believe it. I didn't want to accept it.
Well, their playoff wins over the Packers and Lions made it seem like they were kind of a team of destiny.
Destined.
Yeah.
And there was so much pressure because everyone was talking about how Super Bowl window's closing, blah, 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 blah. And so there's a lot of pressure on that season, and they did it. And it was like, let's go. Like,
Yep.
it's finally going to happen.
Next year.
Yeah.
Get him next year.
Get him next year.
When Max Crosby is on the other side of Bosa, good luck, rest of the league.
Dang right.
If we can't get Max Crosby, I will settle for Myles Garrett, though. I think that would be fine, too.
Yeah, I guess I would be okay with that.
The Niners pursued them, like genuinely pursued them. I'm
Even
serious.
the rental, because you get those guys there, you go win the Super Bowl, easy money, and then you flip them in the offseason. Like, we don't need to keep you around.
You know who I really want this offseason too? Is Quinnen Williams on the Jets.
Oh, good luck with that. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Jets need something to build around.
Yeah, but I hear you. He's a stud. Now just go draft the next Quinnen Williams.
Just trade for Josh Allen. Just be done with it.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well,
all right. Well, I just got one quick thing to end on.
Okay.
So, again, I'll bring up the Matthews family. We do like a big gift exchange. We draw names. Everyone does we buy gifts for each other. And my mom happened to draw my name. And so she bought me, Sam and I are we want to get into camping. And so I wanted a chair to take camping. And so she bought me a chair. But one of the things my mom always does is she always does a little extra part of the gift, and she donates to a charity that she thinks her person would want to donate to. So she wrote me a letter here, which I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to read the last paragraph because it has to do with she was thinking about my faith because I've become a Christian this year, and she was thinking about the 49er faithful. So she writes, this is the last paragraph, which, again, I'm jumping right in the middle of it, so you might kind of not make sense at the beginning, but it says, this attribute is evident even in your passion for your football team. It's been a challenging season as the 49er faithful fan, but you are committed to supporting your team through thick and thin. In honor of your love for football, I made a donation in the name of the 49ers Foundation, whose mission is to educate and empower Bay Area youth. May your faith be strong in all areas of life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so my mom made a donation to the 49ers Foundation, which, as it says, empowers the youth. And so just want to say thank you, Mom. I already said thank you, but thank you again. And that was very cool of her.
Great job, Denise. That's awesome. And what a nice note too. And yeah, she's right. Like, you got to keep the faith, and it's a good way to test yourself in all of life. Keep that commitment, whether it's to your family, your religion, your friends,
Football
whatever.
team.
Yeah, your football team. It's a good thing. I mean, yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's a great lesson, and good on her for pointing that out to you, because it's definitely a good attribute.
Yes, very cool. Thank you again, Mom. Merry Christmas, everybody. And next week we'll talk about a few of the topics we didn't get to, but we are over time, so we'll call it there. We'll talk again next week. Go Niners.
Don't be surprised with the upset.
Let's go Niners. All right. Peace out, guys.
Bye.